Hi, everyone, and welcome to another crazy episode of The Dungeon Crashers. I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapeel. Before we get started, remember to like and subscribe, and turn on that bell so you don't miss out on any of our exciting D&D content. Today's build isn't too much of a request as a response to a few comments. One was from Donovan R. on our License to Smite build, who felt that we should have dumped strength and went with dexterity-based combat style. As we pointed out, it's hard to do that with the multi-class of Paladin because the minimum is 13 strength and it's necessary for its multi-classing. The other is from an older video, Vlad the Impaler, which was a Conquest Paladin Undead Warlock build, and Donald Carter commented that Oathbreaker Paladin would have worked as well because of the Command Undead ability. We agreed that it would, but it didn't have the synergy we were looking for, and Guy mentioned that if we was playing Oathbreaker Paladin, we would have went straight from 1 to 20 build, because at the higher level abilities are good. With this build, we are answering both. We do a lot of multi-classing here on the Dungeon Crashers because you can do fun and flavorful things, and it can be powerful but isn't better than a single classing, just different. And because single class has a number of advantages, class abilities are intended to be powerful at the level you get them, so waiting until higher levels makes them a little less significant. Especially since most classes get important boosts at 5th level, martial types get extra attack, rogues get uncanny dodge, full casters get 3rd level spells, all of which are really hard to put off until later. Sometimes it is worth it, but being a single class character means you get everything as soon as possible.
And Paladin's a class I like a lot for multi-classing because it benefits so much from charisma-based casting classes. A few levels of Hexblade Warlock, Swords or Valor Bard, even Sorcerer can give a big power boost and add some uniqueness, because on the surface a Paladin can seem pretty basic. You can make an excellent 20-level Paladin just by putting your abilities in Strength, Constitution, and Charisma, strapping on heavy armor, getting a greatsword or a longsword and a shield, then go out and tank damage and smite things to pieces. Maybe pick up Great Weapon Master Feed, or just put all your ability score improvements into your main 3 abilities.
Yeah.
It's powerful, effective, and tends to be the star of the party. Yeah, we aren't doing any of that. As the Peel mentioned, a Paladin needs strength for multi-classing, but since we are single class, we can be a dexterity-based Paladin no problem.
Yep.
Of course, a dexterity fighter needs mobility, and Paladins don't get much in that regard. A rogue dip would help, but we aren't multi-classing, so instead we're going to get most of what we need from rogue from our race. And be a goblin, specifically the version for monsters of the multiverse. Nimble escape is what we are here for, letting us disengage and hide as a bonus action. This gives us the freedom to move around the battlefield. Hiding could be handy as well. We won't be getting stealth, but we have good dexterity. Goblins also get several other useful abilities. 60 feet of dark vision, Fey Ancestry, which gives advantage on saves against being charmed, and Fury of the Small, which lets us add our proficiency bonus to the damage of an attack we make against a larger creature, which is going to be a lot of enemies since goblins are small. And we can do this a number of times a day equal to our proficiency bonus, but only once a turn.
Goblins also get ability score boosts common in Monsters of the Multiverse, which are 3+1 bonuses that can be put anywhere we like, but no more than 2 on the same ability score. The older version of Goblin would work as well, as we need dexterity and constitution, but this will allow us to focus on charisma, which will be important. For strength, we put 8. We are a little weak, and that's okay. 15 on dexterity, which makes it 16 with one of our bonuses. 14 on constitution. 10 on wisdom. We aren't the most sensible person around, but we aren't totally clueless. 8 on intelligence. We are stupid and proud of it. If the point buy let us put a 6, we could do that and add more to other abilities, and it would still work fine. And lastly, we would put a 15 on charisma using our remaining 2 bonuses to make it 17. We may be small, but we are intimidating. Everyone is afraid of us, and they should be. We can also be very persuasive when it suits us, and most importantly, we are a showman, an artist of death. We are loved and adored by the masses, even as they tremble in terror.
And that takes us to background, and we are taking a trip to the plane of Ravnica. The Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica presents a campaign set in the Magic the Gathering plane of Ravnica, which is a world-spanning city controlled by a collection of guilds that each represent 2 of the colors used in the Magic game. The guild we are choosing is the Rakdos cult. They are fanatics worshipping the demon named Rakdos. On the surface, they represent the Entertainers Guild, and indeed have theaters, carnivals, and concerts everywhere. But they are also, not all that secretly, assassins, hired muscles, or just thugs running protection rackets. In Magic, they are the red-black color pair. Red is all about fire, emotion, and chaos, and black is about greed, death, and hunger for power. So that sums up the mentality of the cultists. The Ravnica Guild backgrounds offer more than backgrounds in other settings. In addition to the usual benefits, spellcasters also get guild spells added to any spell list they have access to, and it counts as a spell from that class for them. So if a paladin gets spells added from the cleric or wizard list, they count as paladin spells and use charisma for the casting stat. We will discuss these spells when we get to the appropriate levels. We also get the skills performance and acrobatics. Another guild feature is that the people are afraid of our guild and won't turn us into the authorities for minor crimes for fear that our guild will retaliate. We can get away with quite a lot: petty theft, property damage, simple assault, etc. We might still be reported for more serious crimes, and need to be careful not to pick on those that are powerful enough not to be intimidated. As Rakdos, we have a performance specialty, such as Spike Wheel Acrobat, Fire Juggler, etc. One choice is Nightmare Clown, and that is what we're going for. We mock, jest, amuse, and terrify for fun and profit.
Yep. Starting out, we will be taking Paladin, and we'll be doing so from every level here on. We get 2 skills from the Paladin list, and we want Intimidation and Persuasion, which should cover us for social skills. We don't need Deception. Lying requires too much thinking to be useful. If we want someone to do something, we could just ask nicely or just threaten to cut their eyes out if they don't do it. We also get proficiency with all armor, shields, simple, and martial weapons, as well as wisdom and charisma saves. For equipment, we want studded leather armor, a shield, and a scimitar. We are capable of using a rapier if we want the larger damage dice, but the scimitar suits us better and it seems more appropriate for a smaller character. We also get Divine Sense, allowing us to detect celestials, fiends, and undead, learning what type they are and their location. The range is only 60 feet, so unless it is invisible, your eyes might also tell you that the giant silver glowing guy with wings is a celestial. We can do this a number of times equal to 1 plus our charisma modifier, and can also use it to tell if anywhere within 60 feet is consecrated or desecrated, which might be more useful. We also get Lay on Hands, which is a pool of healing energy that we can use to heal ourselves or others. We are going to be using the healing for ourselves. We can heal amount of hit points per long rest equal to 5 times our Paladin level, and can spend 5 hit points of it to cure ourselves of 1 disease or poison. We could also cure someone else, I guess, if we wanted to.
At second level, we get a fighting style, and we want the Blessed Warrior style, which allows us to choose 2 cantrips from the cleric list, and they count as paladin spells for us. Our background adds the cantrips Firebolt and Vicious Mockery to any spell list we have access to, so let's take both of them. Firebolt for sure. It's a great range damage cantrip, and fire is fun. Vicious Mockery is right up our alley as a murderous clown. The damage it does isn't great, but giving enemies disadvantage on their next attack is. The cleric list also has Toll the Dead, which would also be in character for us, is a wisdom save just like Vicious Mockery, and does a lot more damage, so you could take that instead if you prefer. But we're sticking with insulting people so harshly that it burns their brain. We also get spellcasting, and we are a prepared caster. We get 2 first level spell slots and can prepare a number of spells from the Paladin list equal to half our Paladin level rounded down. Minimum 1, plus our charisma modifier, so right now 4. Our background adds the spells Burning Hands, Dissonant Whispers, and Hellish Rebuke to our list. Burning Hands is a good area of effect spell, and it lights anything not being worn or carried on fire. This is great. Lighting things on fire is awesome. Dissonant Whispers lets us say something scary to an enemy, and they save or take psychic damage, and use their reaction to run away from us. This is also fun and useful. It can get an enemy away from us if we need room to maneuver, and also provokes an attack of opportunity from you, and possibly from your fellow cultists. We aren't going to prepare Hellish Rebuke because it won't always be useful since it has a somatic component. As a paladin, we can use a holy symbol on our shield as a divine focus, so don't need a hand for components, but still need one free to gesture unless we take Warcaster. This isn't a problem since most paladin spells either don't have somatic components or are things we can sheath a weapon before casting. A reaction spell like Hellish Rebuke, however, wouldn't be useful if we were holding a weapon and shield. We will also get it as an O spell later. So with our remaining 2 spells, we want Divine Favor, adding a d4 radiant damage to all of our attacks. Not quite as good as Hex or Hunter's Mark, but still powerful and doesn't lock us into fighting a single opponent. Lastly, we want Searing Smite. This requires our concentration, but we cast it as a bonus action, and our next attack deals an extra d6 fire damage and lights the target on fire. We love lighting things on fire. At the start of each of their turns, they must make a Constitution save or take another d6 fire damage. If they save, they get the fire out and the spell ends, but if they didn't, the spell continues for up to a minute depending on our concentration. Of course, instead of casting spells, we can spend our spell slots on Divine Smite. When we hit an opponent, we can spend a spell slot and deal radiant damage to the victim. The damage is d8 plus another d8 per level of the spell slot. So 2d8 for a first level slot, 3d8 for a second, etc.
At third level, we get to take an oath. It doesn't matter which one because we immediately break it and become an Oathbreaker. I'm sure we aren't the only ones who consider oath breaking a flavor fail. You get to the level where you can draw power from taking an oath, but instead you break your oath and get power anyways. I get what they're trying to do, and the subclass is good, but they could have named it better, the Oath of Villainy or Oath of the Blackguard, or something that would be a lot more flavorful. It also would have been good if they would have changed the Paladin abilities that do radiant damage into doing necrotic damage instead. It wouldn't change the power level any, but necrotic smites would be awesome. Maybe ask your DM about it. If not, radiant damage doesn't have to be holy. Sickening Radiance does radiant damage and is a pretty nasty necromancy spell. From Oath of Villainy, we get oath spells. These are spells that will always be prepared and don't count against the number we can prepare a day. The ones we get at this level are Inflict Wounds and Hellish Rebuke. As we mentioned earlier, reaction spells with somatic components don't work well for us without the Warcaster feat, because we can't use them with our hands full, and we can't sheath our scimitar as part of a reaction. Inflict Wounds, however, is pretty good, dealing 3d10 necrotic damage, which is slightly better than smiting with first level spell slot, at least for now. When our weapon attack damage is higher, smiting will be a better option. We also get a use of Channel Divinity and two options. First is Control Undead, which we can use to target an undead within 30 feet whose challenge rating is lower than our level, and it must make a wisdom save or obey us for 24 hours, or until we use the ability again. Undead servants are fun, and we get a relatively powerful one at a pretty low level. The second is also great, is Dreadful Aspect, which causes all creatures of your choice within 30 feet to make a wisdom save or be frightened of us for 1 minute. If the cowards manage to move 30 feet away, they can make another saving throw. Frightened creatures have disadvantages on attacks and ability checks as long as they are within the line of sight of us and can't willingly move closer to us. This ability does not specify a number of creatures, so it can be used on as many as we want as long as they are within 30 feet. It also says creatures of our choice, so we can also spare our minions from it if we want, or not, maybe remind those fools who's boss. We also get Divine Health, making us immune to disease. We get another first level spell slot, and there is an optional ability at this level, if it is used in your campaign, lets you use Channel Divinity to restore one spell slot, which can be a level up to half your proficiency bonus rounded up. We can Channel Divinity once per short or long rest, so if we don't need one of the other uses, we can add up to a fairly amount of extra smites.
And at 4th level we get an ability booster feat, and we want to take the Fey Touch feat. Apparently our wild and carefree nature has put us more in touch with our Fey heritage than most goblins, and it gives us some abilities. We can add +1 to Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma, and we want to make our Charisma 18. This lets us prepare one more spell, and since this is an even level, we can prepare a total of 6. It also improves our spell attack and save DC, which are important for our cantrips, and it helps our persuasion and intimidation, making sure everyone does what we tell them. And most importantly, it helps our performance, making sure we amuse and horrify our legion of devoted fans. It also allows us to cast the Misty Step spell and one first level enchantment or divination spell once per day without using a spell slot. And we can cast them with our spell slots and don't have to prepare them. We won't have second level spell slots for Misty Step until next level. For the first level spell, we are taking Hex. It is in most cases better than Divine Favor, doing a d6 instead of a d4 extra damage, and giving the target disadvantage on ability checks with an ability of our choice, maybe Wisdom, making them easier to intimidate or manipulate. However, it only does the extra damage to one target, so we should keep preparing Divine Favor for situations where we have many enemies to kill. We can prepare whatever other spells from the Paladin list we like with our 2 new slots, because we're going to be using them for second level spells when we level up. Which brings us to 5th level, where we get extra attack, allowing us to take 2 attacks instead of 1 when we make the attack action, which really improves our melee damage, especially if you're using Divine Favor or Hex. Also, if we really need something dead right now, we can smite with each attack, if they both hit. We also get another first level spell slot and 2 second level spell slots, and can prepare second level spells. Our background adds Crown of Madness, Enthrall, and Flaming Sphere to our Paladin list. Crown of Madness is good, but we get it as an oath spell. Enthrall will be useful to prepare outside of combat situations, but in battle it isn't often useful unless you have stealthy minions who need you to give them a distraction. Flaming Sphere, however, is awesome. It does require concentration, but it creates a sphere of flame, and any creature that ends its turn within 5 feet of it must make a dexterity save or take 2d6 fire damage, half if it saves. Also, we can use our bonus action to move it around, and we can crash it into a creature, and when we do, they have to also make a dex save or take 2d6 fire damage. When we move the sphere, it can jump over obstacles up to 5 feet high and over trenches or gaps 10 feet wide. It also sheds bright light for 20 feet and dim light for another 20, and best of all, it lights any flammable object it touches that aren't being worn or carried on fire. So we can move this around, turning the battlefield into a flaming hellscape. We can even do this in the middle of town or in an orphanage, anywhere else we want to see go up in flame, which is really almost everywhere. Some other good spells to prepare would be Magic Weapon if we haven't found one already. Branding Smite could come in handy if we encounter an invisible enemy, and Aid can give us some temporary hit points. We also get Darkness and Crown of Madness as oath spells, and since we always have them prepared, we can find situations where they can be really helpful. We can also just use our second level spell slots for more and better smiting.
Yeah. At 6th level, we get Aura of Protection. This is one of the best reasons to be a Paladin, after smiting, of course. It lets us and any friendly creatures within 10 feet add our Charisma modifier to all of their saving throws. This gives us protection from all sorts of things, and it even helps out our minions. As this is an even level, we can prepare one more spell. At 7th level, we get our Oath of Villainy. We get Aura of Hate. Now we can get a bonus to all melee damage rolls equal to our Charisma modifier, as do any fiends or undead within 10 feet that are friendly to us. Like our Undead Servant, which can be awesome things at this level, such as a Wraith, Ghost, or Mummy. We also get another 2nd level spell slot. At 8th level, we get an ability boost, and we need to get our dexterity up to 18, both for our attacks and armor class. As an even level, we get to prepare an additional spell for a total of 8. At 9th level, we get 2 3rd level spell slots and can prepare 3rd level spells. From our background, we get Fear and Haste added to our spell list. Haste doubles our movement, adds 2 to our armor class, and gives us an extra action, which can be an attack, but we can only make 1 with it. Still pretty powerful. Fear is also strong, giving a 30-foot cone that makes every creature in it make a wisdom save or be frightened of us. Drop whatever they're holding and use their turns to take the dash action to run away from us. Our oath spells are Animate Dead and Bestow Curse. Animate Dead can create a skeleton or a zombie that serves us, but we need to cast it again every day to keep control. Best part is to use it as a meat shield and get it killed and just make another one later. Bestow Curse is also really good. They get a wisdom save, but if they fail, they are cursed, and there are several options, and all of them are great. You will want to read the spell description, but this spell is definitely worth using, especially since you get it prepared for free. Other good spells to prepare at this level are Blinding Smite and Spirit's Shroud. Blinding Smite works like all the other Smite spells, but the target takes an extra 3d8 radiant damage and must make a Constitution save or be blinded until the spell ends. This is probably a better use of a spell slot than smiting, but it does also use concentration, and the blinding creature gets a save every round to get its sight back. I wouldn't drop concentration on something to cast this, but if I wasn't already using my concentration, I would use it in favor of a smite. Another good one is Spirit Shroud, which surrounds us with an aura of fiendish creatures that lets us add 1d8 necrotic damage to all of our attacks. This isn't more damage than Hex, but it can add up, and it doesn't limit us to a single opponent. In addition, a creature damaged by this can't gain hit points until the start of our next turn, and we can reduce the movement speed of one creature in the area of the effect by 10 feet. All in all, a pretty good value, probably more useful than Haste at this level.
And at 10th level, we get Aura of Courage. We can't be frightened, and neither can any of our minions, within 10 feet. Also, we can prepare one more spell. At 11th level, we get Improved Divine Smite. Now, all of our weapon attacks do an additional 1d8 radiant damage, even if we aren't using Smite. And we can add Smite damage on top of it. Using this, our Aura of Hate, Spirit Shroud, and Fury of the Small, our attacks are doing 1d6 from the Scimitar, 1d8 radiant, 1d8 necrotic, plus 12 damage, without adding Smites. We also get another 3rd level spell slot. At 12th level, we get another ability boost, and let's cap our dexterity at 20 for the best attacks and armor class we can get. We can also prepare another spell. At 13th level, we get a 4th level spell slot and can prepare 4th level spells. From our background, we get Confusion and Wall of Fire added to the Paladin list, and both are just the kind of spells we like. Confusion can mess with an enemy's head and usually make them useless for the encounter, and Wall of Fire does good damage and can be used for battlefield control, and can be made into a ring trapping enemies in it unless they want to take the damage to pass through it. Of course, if they don't, they will also take damage from being trapped in it. The wall is opaque, so it will also stop casters from targeting things on the other side of it, which can be handy as well. At 14th level, we get Cleansing Touch. A number of times per day equal to our Charisma modifier, we can use an action to just end a spell that is affecting us or one willing creature we touch. This can stop us from being paralyzed, polymorphed, confused, if we get to take an action, cursed, blinded, and all sorts of other problems. It won't help if we can't take actions, like if we are asleep, turned to stone, or otherwise incapacitated. And we can also prepare one more spell.
At 15th level, our Oath ability grants us resistance to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage from attacks that aren't magical weapons. This covers a lot of attacks that we will face. While intelligent enemies might have magic weapons and some enemies do other damage types, a lot of things still claw, bite, smash, etc. And taking half from all of that is really great. We also get another 4th level spell slot. At 16th level, we get another ability booster feat. We need hit points, and since our Aura of Protection helps with our Constitution saves, we are going to take the Tough feat, getting an extra 2 hit points per level. And we can also prepare one more spell at this level. At 17th level, we get one 5th level spell slot and can prepare 5th level spells. From our background, we get Dominate Person added to the Paladin spell list, but we also get it as our Oath spell, so we don't need to prepare it. Our other Oath spell is Contagion. We don't think this is a very good spell, but it still has a pretty powerful effect if you can manage to make it work. And since we get to prepare it for free, we might find a situation to use it in. It is also very in character for us. We would probably take this as much pleasure in spreading disease as we do in spreading fires. Of the 5th level spells, we want to prepare Destructive Wave as an absolute monster. Creatures we choose within 30 feet take 5d6 thunder damage and 5d6 radiant or necrotic damage. This is a good damage as an upcasted fireball has. Better area, better damage types, and we can choose who gets blown up. It also looks cool because we get to stab our weapon into the ground and send out a magic shockwave in all directions. Another spell to consider is Summon Celestial. Normally, this would seem out of character, but we are in Ravnica. Black angels and red angels are totally a thing here, so we can call an Angel of Death in to back us up. Sadly, we can't summon Fiend. This also works with our Aura of Hate, but we can't have everything. At 18th level, our Aura of Protection, Aura of Hate, and Aura of Courage all expand to affect all friendly creatures within 30 feet. At 19th level, we get our last ability score improvement, and we're going to use it to cap up our Charisma at 20. We also get 2 5th level spell slots.
And at last, we get to 20th level. We get the capstone ability from our Oath ability, which is Dread Lord. For 1 minute, we can surround ourselves with an aura of gloom that reduces any bright light within 30 feet of us to dim light. Whenever any creature that is frightened of us starts its turn in this area, it takes 4d10 psychic damage, and we have multiple ways to make creatures frightened of us. Also, we and any creature of our choosing in the area are draped in deeper shadow, and creatures that rely on sight have disadvantage on attack rolls against us. Also, we can use a bonus action to attack a creature with the shadows, doing 3d10 plus our Charisma modifier and necrotic damage. We can only do this once per long rest, but for that 1 minute a day, we are a god among goblins. And we often add a list of magic items to our builds. These are just things that we think would work well for the character. The actual items you will get will depend on your DM and the campaign. We give 1 very rare or legendary item, 2 rare, and 3 uncommon to a level 20 character. At legendary, there is an item practically made for this character. It's also from Ravnica, and is called the Rakdos Right Knife. It is a +1 dagger, and whenever a creature is killed by it, the dagger traps its soul and it can't be resurrected by anything but a wish. The dagger can hold 5 souls and deals an extra d4 necrotic damage for each soul it holds. You can also spend any number of souls as an action, healing 1d10 for each one you release. And if we hit a creature that currently has 75 hit points or less, and the dagger is holding 5 souls, we can release the souls, causing the creature to die, unless it makes a DC 15 Constitution save. This is a great ability, but also a pretty easy save for most creatures you might want to use it on. At rare, we want an Amulet of Devout +2. It adds the +2 bonus to our spell attack and save DCs. As we are more of a caster than many paladins, this is great for us. It also lets us use one of our channel divinity options once a day for free. We also want a Wand of Fireballs. It has 7 charges, and 1 charge can be used to cast a 3rd level fireball, and additional charges can be used to add higher levels to it. It regains 1d6 +1 charges a day, so you can blast pretty freely with it. But if you use the last charge, it has a 1 in 20 chance of turning to dust. These 3 use up our attunement slots. At uncommon, we want a +1 studded leather and +1 shield. We also want Boots of Elvenkind to give us advantage on stealth checks, since we are unable to get the proficiency with the skill.
I hope everyone enjoyed this build and seeing a very unusual sort of paladin. As usual, leave questions, comments, and build ideas in the comments section below. We love hearing from you, and be sure to join us next week when we build a Blood Hunter Druid multi-class. So look forward to that. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.